And so Father Brian will be preaching all the masses next weekend, but we thought it would be good to honor him this weekend. And so Deacon Dave is going to take the honor of honoring him. So, yes, thanks, Deacon Dave.
Good morning. You know, there are two kinds of people: those who are Irish and those who wish they were. There are those who squeeze the tube of toothpaste in the middle, and those who squeeze it from the end and roll it up, and you know who you are. And there are those who have a short attention span, and those, oh, squirrel. Yeah, that works a little better than the other one. It's great to be here today, and as we take a look at our second reading today, the letter of St. Paul to the Corinthian church, his second letter to them, he says some profound things in here. And this short little passage of a few verses, he encapsulates the essence of our whole life as Christians. He says, Christ died for us all, and therefore all have died. And in Christ, we are a new creation. The old is gone. The new has come. But it's easy for us when we look at this to miss this big, fat, juicy gold nugget right in the middle of this passage. And he says this, and he, Jesus, died for all, that those who live might no longer live for themselves, but for him. For those who might live no longer for themselves, but for him. And so it works out. There are two kinds of people: those who live for him and those who live for themselves. A self-centered person lives to please oneself in all things. We seek pleasure, we seek riches, comfort, wealth, and the list could go on and on. It's the unholy triad, if you will, of me, myself, and I. And we've seen that. We know it when we see it. But those who live for Christ love him above all things, seek his will for their lives, devote their lives to serving him, and conform their lives to his likeness. You might pause and ask, well, what does that really look like? What does it look like to live for Christ? Well, I witnessed this about a month ago on Pentecost Sunday. He celebrated and preached the 10 a.m. Mass, proceeded to greet parishioners outside, came back in to conduct a 54th wedding anniversary blessing, and took a person that needed some care and pastoral wisdom and guidance out discreetly away from the crowd, if you will, for a time, then proceeded back into the sanctuary and escorted a person to the confessional in time to prepare for doing the 12 o'clock Mass. Father Brian arrived here 8 years ago, and he began his new life as a priest of Jesus Christ. Some of us who were able to be at his ordination Mass heard his words at the conclusion, his words that were filled with humility, gratitude, and a wisdom beyond his youth. And over these 8 years, he has shared his very life with us. He's poured out his life for us and his students of Lumen Christi. And to say all of what I would like to say is as frustrating as compressing Moby Dick into a TikTok video. And as he prepares for his new assignment of pastor at St. Robert Bellarmine in Flushing and Good Shepherd Parish in Montrose, it seems very fitting here today to say some things in recognition and express our appreciation for him, especially since he exemplifies the reading that we're speaking of. We all know his spiritual gifts, his ministry gifts, his preaching gifts. But some of us don't know that he's a talented, skillful woodworker. Just go look at the catechesis of the Good Shepherd tabernacle that he constructed, or the stand for the St. Michael statue. He's a gifted musician. If you've ever heard him play the piano, wow, yes. And he's also becoming quite fluent on the guitar as well. And of course, his voice resounds in liturgy and other ways. And this is a little story from his high school days that he shared with the Lumen Christi students one time. I'll never forget it. He was a varsity soccer player with Lansing Catholic. And he was also, consequently, the football team reserve place kicker. He didn't see a lot of action with the football team, but the place kicker was hurt in one of their arch rival games. It went into overtime, and the place kicker was hurt. And so they called upon Father Brian to come out and kick. And his parents were in the stand, and a couple in front of his parents said, "What is this? Who is this guy? He's a nobody. Where did they get him? Where is our kicker? The game is on the line. This is a big, big game." And his father turned to them and said, "Look, that's my son." And immediately, Father Brian didn't know that until after the game. But it struck him. That's the same fervor, the same intensity and love of God the Father when we're baptized. The voice from heaven, "This is my son. This is my daughter." Some noteworthy nuggets of some of his homilies. I can't even begin to catalog them all. I mean, we've lived them and we've laughed with him, and we've loved every minute of it. Early on in his ministry, he was called to the hospital. A woman was on the cusp of death. In fact, he thought she had crossed over and wondered whether or not he should give the apostolic blessing. He did. And the enemy didn't like it because a soul was snatched out of his potential grasp. In the middle of the night, the car alarms kept going off, keeping him up. And finally, the grace of God came to lift off a physical pressure that was crushing and trying to take his life. The key, he said, one Hail Mary lifted. One Hail Mary lifted that oppressive power. We also learned as a seminarian, as he went around Rome, that a meal, the highest purpose of a meal, is to bring us together in love and in conversation, rather than to fill our bellies and go the American way. And who would ever forget the wallet of great price? The wallet of great price. We sell what we are enthused about, what we truly love, and we want to share what we love. And what better love can we share than Jesus Christ, his gospel, his life with others? Now, I could go on and on and on, but I've got to limit myself here, and if I had to say just one thing, this is really the most important thing I want to say about Father Brian. He has a gift, and you know it. And I'm going to explain that. He has a unique ability to communicate how the divine life of God is revealed in the ordinary qualities of our humanity. It is baked into his life and his homilies both. It is something that is modeled rather than explicitly taught. It's caught. It's not as much taught. St. Irenaeus put it this way: "For the glory of God is man fully alive." That's true. But what it means to be fully alive is only clear when we include the second part of the statement, which is often omitted when it's quoted. The entire quotation reads, "For the glory of God is man fully alive, and the life of man is the vision of God." The life of man is the vision of God. This abundant, joyful life, man fully alive, if you will, becomes a reality when the longing and vision of God is central in our lives. Our humanity is nourished by and realized by our longing to see God and the hope for the beatific vision in heaven. And Jesus said, "I am the vine, and you are the branches." Have you ever seen grapes growing on the vine? No. They don't grow on the vine. They grow on the branches. It is amazing that God chose branches, human branches, to bear the fruit of divine life. And Father Brian has given us a wonderful example of that. God bless.